2025 budget preparation procedure. Quite interesting proposals that were made by the CS for Treasury. Keynote being the reduction of VAT tax from 16 to 14%, as well as the corporate tax from 30 to 25% in the medium term. And now, let me get back with you, Ruth. These are interesting and controversial pronouncements with regards to taxes. And I'm trying to understand where this leaves the country in terms of its public debt management obligation. Because you're having a CS come out and say, in the midterm, we're going to reduce taxes at very critical aspects. So I'm trying to understand, how then are you going to be able to stay afloat in terms of your public debt management? Do they know what they're talking about as of today?
Thank you so much. I welcome that move,
yeah.
And I'm happy that CS Bandi is settling down with some of the issues that he can ease burdens from common mwananchi. That is what some of the news that people are expecting, and businesses or even small businesses are expecting to hear easing burden. And anytime you speak a language of liberty, you know, which is something that is even in our national anthem, people become at ease and are ready to follow. I'll tell you one thing, Alan. If you've never seen law-abiding citizens like we have in Kenya, actually, leadership in Kenya should count themselves very lucky to have some of the most compliant citizens. The move with Bandi is good because for him, he's looking at bringing more people in the net than having a few that are still paying taxes. When you look at the in any business, you have to look at how far you can be able to go, how the depth you can be able to go, bring people on board by persuasion. I look at his move like persuading people, please come on board, let's work together, you know, and that is what people, Kenyans actually, I normally say our economy is resilient because its people are resilient. When you tell people, come, let's do this together, people are really accommodative. That's a very good move, and he's going to bring many people in the net. SMEs, I've said here many times that they just need to be supported, something that the Treasury has never supported that sector, which continues to be the backbone because agriculture was pushed out a long time ago. So his move is welcome, and the reason actually why we are seeing other areas having a lot of problem is because the word liberty is not being seen. Anywhere there is no liberalization in terms of being seen like we are communicating or we are working together. Anywhere there is anything that is perceived like is in the dark or it's not coming out in the light, it will be rejected by the people. But I think Bandi has understood the language of the people. He has understood the issues that were there when some of the bill were rejected. The other thing he has realized that in the next 3 years, he cannot raise taxes. However, he can be able to reach more people to still fill the same gaps, and this country still meets its obligations. Okay,
Ruth, just quickly, I mean, you're talking about reaching more people. Looking at the cost of reacquisition, because just looking at how we've handled matters taxes in the past 2 years or so, we've lost quite a number of investors. Many businesses have closed down. So I'm looking at the cost of reacquisition and having that belief that this government moving forward is going to do the right thing, because even looking at how we've structured our taxes as a country, it doesn't necessarily fully align to the national tax policy. So what are we looking at in terms of that reacquisition of that confidence to see to it that we can move forward?
What were the main issues in the last 2 years where we've had a lot of problems with taxes? Simple thing. First, public participation. The fact that things have been imposed to the public that they were not involved in, and it showed like there was no research or they were not understood. When you do not understand me, then we will not be friends. We'll continue fighting. And one of the things that has been actually been the issue for the last 2 years is that you are not understanding me. But Bandi, we can say he's coming, let us reason together. That's why he might or he could win. That is one. Secondly, what was the other main issue, especially from the Finance Bill 2023? We had a double taxation when it came to the matters of oil and whatever was going to the consumer market in matters petrol and oil. Was that resolved? Because you cannot double a tax. You cannot wake up and double a tax. That's the other thing. What was the other issue when it came to finance bill? And actually those issues rolled over to 2024 and they were made more impunitive because it was seen that anything that the Mwananchi had no leeway in terms of discussing or even pushing back.
Okay.
And even the parliament did not do that. And there was also seen to be a gap between Treasury and also KRA in terms of implementation, because actually KRA has become very persuasive in terms of how they're dealing with their customers.
Right.
But is that being understood from a finance bill preparation perspective? And that is why we are saying, if Bandi does not take the stand that he's taking right now, he's not going to prosper. He's going to make it, he's not going to make it well as a CS in the next 3 years. And do you know who he'll have failed? He'll have failed his government, this government.
All right, let me come to you, Mheshimiwa. Kenya Kwanza sold to Kenyans a very attractive manifesto, and looking at some of the projects that were in your manifesto, they're very capital intensive projects. They need resources for them to be implemented. Currently, Kenya as a nation, we are navigating an IMF sort of program which emphasizes on fiscal discipline and revenue generation. And now we have a CS talking about reducing these controversial and integral taxes in the medium term. Are you going to be able to deliver on that manifesto? Where are you going to get the money, looking at how we've not necessarily been very intentional about handling our public resources too well?
Let me say that, in fact, even though this economic field is not my area of expertise, I overhand the CS Treasury, who happened to exit last time. Also talking about this element of hiking the taxes. That he pronounced himself that that is not the solution to go. And as much as the additional taxes are concerned, it is important to get back to where we started our platform, to our promises to the people of Kenya by the time we are looking for the votes. One, the donkey was overloaded then. And therefore, if really you are elected on that platform to decongest the donkey, and then even before 2 years, the donkey is almost now crippling and almost lying down. The burden has come heavier and heavier. So what could be the way forward to have a prosperous nation? As much as we have a blueprint with flagship projects that actually this country want to achieve before 5 years, there is an areas that we cannot use magic. You should use the shirt you can wear. And in this case, I would say, since the levels of our correction of revenue have shown that we may push to get, because in the last financial year, 23-24, actually, we dropped from our target, we dropped like almost 500 billion Kenya shilling. Because originally, it dropped from 280 to 250. And then at the tail end, they were unable to manage to 18 billion. So in total, you can see the whole scope of the year, there was a loss, a shortfall of almost half a trillion revenue collection. In this case, what does it tell you? Would you keep now pressuring the donkey, or you must find other mechanism to decongest the donkey and allow it now to move ahead? Because there is a situation that you may alive, you try to push these people to make extraordinary taxes, and they totally hide from the tax base. And I think the best way is to go that persuasion route, where at least bring everybody to the board, bring flexible means of base of tax paying, so that at least you owe people to come to the basket, so that together you can generate enough. But if you keep on pushing them out, they will just run away, and they will be using dubious means to survive. But actually, what will happen? You will be missing this revenue at the end of the day. But if you can put some prudent measures that actually are flexible to the people will say, yes, sahi, at least tunafuta hewa. And you work together.
Prof. We're talking about this reduction of taxes. Yes, these are welcome proposals, especially for the people that are going to provide some sort of relief. But I'm just looking at other critical aspects of governance. We're looking at our budget deficit going up, and also I'm looking at what the reduction of taxes could do in terms of generating the much needed revenue. How then would this affect our corporate sector, especially when you're looking at MSMEs, and because that then would mean that the government will now come again to heavily borrow locally. So I'm just trying to look at all these factors playing out in terms of reducing taxes and us still staying afloat.
So as an economist, we say that a good solution begins with identifying the right problem. Mm-hmm. So the Kenyan economy is twofold. The first problem is a lot of money going into debt servicing. And the second, I don't want to say that there's high debt because I don't believe there's high debt. Mm-hmm. It's just odious debt. Mm-hmm. But that's a long story. The second problem we have is less money in the hands of Kenyans, which means that there's less economic activity. For example, I was yesterday, my laptop got broken. Then I was buying a laptop from one Kenyan dealer who is selling laptop here. Yeah. Then when I was talking on the phone, he told me, Professor, we're having a problem because university students are opening school, but we are not seeing them buying many laptops because initially, when people are and the campus are opening, many university students normally go to those shops. That's why they are just around the university area where they go to buy a laptop from them. So there are some young Kenyans who have opened electronic shops where they expect people to buy from them laptops that students can use to go to school, especially university. But he told me they have not seen the influx, meaning there's no much money in circulation because university fund has not helped them to get extra income. So the problem I'm saying too is a lot of money going to debt servicing. Secondly, less money in people's hands. Yeah. Now, if you look at the proposal which has been given by John Mbadi, it cannot work in isolation. Yes. So John Mbadi has to know that if you just lower that, reduce the taxes without doing other things, it won't work. Okay. So another thing you need to do, as he lowers the taxes, he needs to have the incentive for these SMEs to be able to make money. Yeah. For example, you have to lower the interest rate. The interest rate where they used to borrow money. So the central bank lending rate has to reduce so that these people can access more money. Remember, big corporates don't borrow money. Actually, it is the small businesses that borrow money, then service the corporate. Okay. For example, Safaricom will not borrow money to supply airtime. But somebody, as SME working in Safaricom, will go borrow money, pay staff, offer the service, then Safaricom will pay them after the service has been offered. So if you don't lower interest rate, you don't help these SMEs to grow up and then they can collect more taxes. So you cannot offer that in isolation. The second thing you need to do is improve business logistics. I mean business logistics, for example, if you are in Meru, you want to sell bananas in Nairobi. If fuel prices are very high, the price of banana in Nairobi is going to be high. So improving the road infrastructure and at least actually lowering a bit the cost of fuel, because fuel affects all logistics. So the cost of fuel needs to go down, that cost of energy. If you bring it down, it will actually help a lot to solve this issue. So according to me, the bottom line is that Kenyan products and services must also be competitive in the global trade. For example, Mheshimiwa, you share the Committee on Trade. So if we are having high energy costs and want to send prepared vegetables in UK, want to send, let's say, French beans, want to sell them in Sainsbury's supermarket in UK. If our cost of energy is high, our cost of logistics are high, we are not competitive, so we cannot earn enough foreign exchange. So the CS has to sit down and tell the country that apart from just lowering those two taxes, what other things does it do so that they work together? Okay. It's like, for example, to succeed in marriage, isn't it? You just don't need to have a good wife, isn't it? Okay. You also just have to have some manners. So there must be other things that needs to be put together, then actually marriage succeeds. So according to me, the lowering of tax is a good welcome because it sends positive vibe in the economy. It makes people start realizing that the country is now getting more stable. But mainly, in the end, we
fund.
need to have accompanying other decisions.
Yes.
And the bottom line should be, we should have a stable tax policy, because we don't want that when this year comes, it's going up. That one is going down. It needs to be stable so that long-term investors know that if you come to Kenya, you can invest for 20 years and then make money in that economy.
All right. Now, of course, I'm running out of time here, but I just want to wrap up this conversation on the issue on two aspects, and there are two facets to this question. Ruth, just take time into consideration even as you're responding to the same. We're looking at the budgeting process, and one of the things that has come into play is that we're looking at rolling out as early as next year is zero budgeting when it comes to these ministries and the agencies. The CS has said it's time, anytime the budget process starts, we have to start from zero. Every single person comes, present their goals and all that. We look at priorities, and that's how we're going to dispense money. Many have believed that it cannot necessarily work because the tools needed to implement that are quite costly. So is this a doable thing that the CS is talking about? And secondly, he's also mentioned that there's no room for debt restructuring. Are we really being sincere with ourselves when he's saying there's no room for debt restructuring as a developing country?
Wow, that's I look at the CS from where he's coming from.
Yeah.
He's looking at what has failed in the past, actually since the re-election of this government, or since the election of this government. And he's trying, what he's trying to say that it's like he wants to start afresh. Then how will he do that? And some of the proposals Prof has given them actually very strongly. If you look at actually this particular year, I want to say one of the things that has really saved us, and I've said here again, is the fact that inflation has not been very high. And actually our inflation has been the fact that the basic commodities have been affordable. But that is actually supported by the kind of weather condition that we have expected. So everyone is having food. This is not a year you've seen media parading died donkeys or some, hunger in the country. We haven't seen that. And actually we've seen the inflation has gone down to around 4%, which is really good. And one of the things that, Prof, that really affects the interest rate is actually the inflation. And if actually the need that necessitated actually the increase in interest rates, especially the last 2-3 years, is the fact that inflation was also very high. So we saw the interest rate go up. So I think we haven't seen a proper reconciliation since the inflation went really down. And so there's still room for
improvement
for interest rate going down. And we've seen a lot of things going, especially the domestic borrowing. And the domestic borrowing that is happening in Kenya, even as the CS goes to the budgeting process, he must first understand what are the issues on the ground. One of the things that is affecting Kenyans or is affecting this economy is the lack of money in circulation. Why? Because the same government that has taken everything, both outside and internally. So the debts that they're servicing is even the internal debts that they have borrowed from Kenyans. So the few people who have money, who are not many, who are not the small traders, have all taken their money because the MSMEs are considered as risky business.
All right. Well, Mwesh, just want to give you 30 seconds to complete this. We know very well how Treasury is operated. You're a seasoned politician. You've been around for quite some time, and you know the loopholes that exist in that Treasury. Just moving forward, what is your confidence level in terms of these strategies that we've talked about right here this morning?
One, the only serious thing that we have is that there has to be a concurrency between the KRI and Treasury. The technical team between the two has to align, because it is not important to have some targets that can end up with a shortfall of that magnitude. So to fill those gaps, then you need not to over target and be within the scope where the estimates can work. Because always budgets are estimates. And number two is that the Treasury should also come up with very serious proposals where there has to be an element where pending projects should be given the first charge, so that at least there can be a value of of the money at the end. But what happened is that there's a haphazard way of priorities, new priorities after every financial year, and you forget what was existing, and you start another new one, and you leave that to die. And that element to the image and the value of Kenyan funds is nowhere taken care of. Okay. But if the treasurer can put serious measures to those units that actually it supplies, making sure that there has to be a declaration at every financial year that these were the pending projects, it has gone these levels, and therefore any other budget coming has to be budgeted to complete those first before coming up with the new ones. Then we can be able to be seen moving somewhere. But if we keep on the same thread of appetite of new ones and forgetting the existing ones, then at the end of the day it will be mark timing all through. All right.
Well, thank you very much to my guest this morning, Honorable James Gakuya, Embakasi North legislator, who doubles up as the trade chair of the Trade Committee in the National Assembly, as well as Professor Fred Ogula, who's an economic and governance expert, and Ruth Kinyanjui, who's an economist. We've had the discussion for the better part of the past 2 hours. We leave it at that point. I'm Alan Owino. Of course, coming right up next, we continue with normal programming. See you when I see you.
Catch every thrilling moment of the English Premier League. The German FA Cup.
Harry Kane! Harry Kane scores! How many times have you heard that?
La Liga. Serie A.
Marcus Thuram! What a start to life in the Milan derby!
And all Manchester City games.
He goes and stones and high!
Live on K24. This season, K24 is your playground for champions. Don't miss out. Tune in and watch the best football from around the world on Maskani